A major move could be coming for AEW, as it looks like they will indeed be on Max. We're going to talk about some new insight that we are learning about the AEW move over to Max, what it could entail, what it might mean for pay-per-views and for live television. We're going to talk about that in terms of this major deal that AEW is likely going to announce very soon. We're also going to be talking about a major AEW star. You might know him, Kenny Omega, who looks like he might be nearing a return at some point. We're going to tell you everything we know about these situations. Until then, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, first, let's talk about AEW. We've spoken about the reported deal, the Puck News article, the Fightful piece, and everything like that. But one of the questions around this deal has been, Max. And Max has been something that could be added on to the $170 million number that was thrown around there in the Puck News article, or it could be included. We don't know. But one thing that everyone's kind of expecting is that there will be some sort of pay-per-view or on-demand feature for Max. And Andrew Zarian, who is pretty well sourced when it comes to this deal and has been kind of, dropping hints and details throughout the year about this deal specifically, had something very interesting to say about this deal on the Mat Men podcast today. He said, quote, "They will be on Max in January. They could do it sooner, but I do know that they are planning on January. I do know that pay-per-views are going to be on there. They don't have an exclusivity on pay-per-views, so it will also be available in other places. It's like WWE is. You can still order those pay-per-views that are available on Peacock." So, and people might see this and say, oh, well, this is something we know. But one of the questions around this has kind of been, hypothetically, if pay-per-views do go over onto Max, then is it going to be included in the Max kind of flat rate that you pay, which is increasing every year, but is a flat rate nonetheless that is still cheaper than the, $50 or whatever you pay per pay-per-view right now? Or is it going to be, you sign up for Max and you get like a discounted rate, which is kind of what UFC does on ESPN Plus. Like if you're subscribed to ESPN Plus, you can order UFC pay-per-views for like $20, $30 or something, but you're still paying a fee on top of what you're already paying. Now, I think for AEW, like, rough estimate, extremely rough estimate, right, is they're making somewhere in the ballpark of $25 million per pay-per-view. That is give or take gross, whatever, per year. And if that is the case, and we're using 100,000 pay-per-view buys to calculate that, and let's assume it's like a 50-50 split, it would come somewhere in the ballpark of $25 million gross revenue. If that is the case, then, Max would have to pay a lot of money in order to get those pay-per-views exclusive to Max, or not exclusive to Max, but on Max, which would be, become the primary viewing place for AEW pay-per-views moving forward in North America, you would think. So, and if you have that, then, you're AEW, you're happy because, well, you're getting paid the amount of money that you would expect to make on pay-per-views in this deal. Now, it opens up the conversation of like, is there going to be an extra fee? Is it going to be the UFC model? I'm feeling from, and again, this is me recklessly speculating, I'm feeling that if Max is a part of this deal, it is going to be a situation where you can watch them if you're already paying for HBO Max, or Max, sorry. You can call it HBO Max, it is Max now. And I don't think there's going to be, I wouldn't say that there's going to be a flat rate added on, or an extra rate flat added onto it. I think that we'll see, because obviously, like, the main objective is for them to make money off of this, but I think there's different ways for Max to make money off of that. I think we very well could see advertising become even more prominent on AEW pay-per-views in a way that, quite similar to WWE. Hopefully not as, like the amount of WWE ads we see on WWE PLEs is kind of sickening at this point. Too much capitalism going on there, but I think there are different ways and mitigating factors of trying to make that money back if you are Warner Brothers Discovery and if you're Max. So we'll see what happens, but it seems like that is happening. One thing we do know is I think we should all expect to see the library, which is something that's kind of getting lost in this entire conversation about AEW and this TV deal. I think we're going to see the library go over to Max. And I'm talking about the original All In all the way through where we're at now, which is like All Out 2024. I think that the entire library is going to go to Max. I think every AEW show is going to be on there. That is a really good thing because it allows AEW, who have like 5 years worth of content, weekly content, which is nothing like, it's not a small feat, right? That's a lot of content. And we don't know. Again, Ring of Honor has not been really reported as part of this deal. But if it were in the cards to get the Ring of Honor library added on top of that, that's extra value. I don't know how much extra value that would be. It would nothing close to the amount of value the AEW library would have to Max and WBD, but that does give you even more to work with. And I think that opens up the possibility for future original programming. I'm thinking documentaries. Much like they have the WWE has like Peacock documentaries, they have A&E documentaries, all that kind of stuff. I think with the ROH tape library in Tony Khan's back pocket, with this big deal happening, I think the next phase is like, all right, who are we selling our documentaries to? Are they going to be on Max? Are they going to be somewhere else? What's happening? We also know that Shockwave is likely going to be shopped around somewhere. This comes as Rampage is likely going to be canceled, as this is not seem to be part of a deal for the renewal. The renewal really only talks about Collision and Dynamite, so it seems like Rampage is done. And it's exciting times from the business standpoint for AEW. And, I know for the last couple of months, really the last year, we've been talking about this TV deal and everything that's leading up to it. And it is crazy that we're here. I would have thought that we got here a lot earlier, but sometimes I think it is about timing, and I do feel like it is going to. We are at the clock is about to strike midnight. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm all over the place today, guys. I'm sorry, but clock is about to strike midnight. I do think that this deal is going to be announced at some point pretty soon, but we will see. Last point here before we move on to the Kenny Omega update. I do think that we are going to see, we're going to really see AEW's value tested here. And the interesting thing about what could be in store for us with Max is, simulcasting. Simulcasting is something I've talked about. I think if they being Max do have next day rights, I very well, meaning that, the next day Dynamite or Collision are available on Max, like as part of the library or on demand, whatever. I think at that point, it would be worthwhile for them to simulcast, much like they do already with the NBA, AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision. I think that right there cements you. That cements you as, a WBD property, and it really reinforces how much they're going in on Max, because we know WWE is already dipping their toe into the streaming waters as far as this monstrous Netflix deal they're doing. And I think AEW having that component for live TV would be really good. It also would get rid of this wild-ass discourse about ratings that I am so freaking sick of talking about. Like, I love wrestling fans. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. But man, I'm so sick of engagement farming accounts online who just all they do is talk about ratings and it's not from like there is a way, like there is a productive and rightful way to talk about ratings. I do think that, right? And it's not just the way I do it, right? Because I took about it from a business standpoint, and like when you're talking chop or whatever, you're chopping it up, whatever. That's fine, right? You say something, it is what it is. But the obsession over ratings and to the degree that people take it, and then like they don't, and then they say things that are like business things that have no backbone in business. Like you had an account, like I'm not gonna say who, you probably know who it is if you've been watching me for a while. But there's an account who's like literally said, "Oh, I have a WPD source that said AEW is not going to get any deal, and they are not going to get renewed." And and you got bullshit accounts like that, so like saying that bullshit, like it's wild. We're here. At the end of the day, guys, I think what's important is getting your information from sources who take care of the information they're trying to say and put care into what they're trying to say, and try to report things at least a little bit factually. I'm not a reporter. I talk about it. I'm a commentator. I admit that fully. But even me, when I'm trying to like tell you guys something, I try to keep it real with you. I don't try to tell you something that's completely inaccurate. And if we're chopping it up, I'm going to tell you we're chopping it up. Anyway, that's where we are. That's what's happening. To all the engagement farming accounts, congrats on making the Elon pennies that you did over the past couple of months. Anyway, let's move on and talk about something really cool that I really want to get into. Kenny Omega, the god of pro wrestling, could be preparing for a return? Question mark. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. I'll let you know. Question mark. Let's talk about this. Wrestling Observer newsletter. Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi have been training in moving around the ring and stamina, as well as boxing and jiu-jitsu. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi shared a photo online of them actually at a gym training. Omega has not been seen on AEW TV ever since he was written off with an injury from the Elite, and before that he was off for months prior due to diverticulitis. That is a pretty very serious condition that affects your intestines, and Omega has not been wrestling basically for at this point like at least 9 months, and there was talk that he had to get major surgery, and we're now at the point where there's been a lot of speculation about Omega's status, whether he's going to come back, if he's going to come back. The fact that he is training is a good sign. I'm not going to tell you that Kenny is returning anytime soon, but the fact that he is training is a very good sign, because for someone who is afflicted with diverticulitis to be taking bumps, especially to the degree that Omega was when he was in the ring, like that in itself is a very difficult thing to do. The pain that he goes through, the pain that anyone with diverticulitis goes through is intense. But for Kenny Omega, training, that's a really good sign. And the fact that it's with Kota Ibushi, someone who has been a long-time tag team partner of Kenny Omega, someone who we expect to see on TV with Kenny Omega. We love the Golden Lovers, but I think this is optimistic. I'm not going to say he's going to be back in like the next couple of months, but I would say this is as good a sign as we could see at this point that Omega will return at some point, and he has expected to return at some point. They were, teasing the match that we're finally getting on American soil at some point. Hopefully, knock on wood, we're finally going to get this match. Omega, Okada. That is going to blow the roof off of whatever arena or stadium, question mark, they wrestle at. I think that's a match that people have been waiting to see for a long time outside of Japan, and I think that's the match you do. And I don't think you wait. I don't think you have Omega, run through the gambit of, okay, he's going to wrestle like, Dante. No. Shout out to Dante Martin. We love that. He had a great match with Dante Martin back in 2021. But I think if you're going to have Omega return, have him come back, because we now know, like, tomorrow is not guaranteed. And anything could happen in a wrestling ring. You get injured, anything could come up. Do the match when you got it. I think right off the bat, you have him go in there. Okada, Omega, make that the first match when he returns. Give the people what they want. Build up with his return with something exciting that can't miss. And if you're like me and you saw, you've seen any of their matches, whether it be at Wrestle Kingdom, whether it be, in my view, the greatest wrestling match ever, Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada at Genesis, I still think to this day, like, that is that is the greatest built match ever. I think it's the greatest match ever. And I simply believe that if you do it in North America, it's going to sell out whatever arena you want to go to. So we'll see what happens there, guys. Let me know in the comments section what you guys would want to see Kenny Omega do when he does return. Also, let me know what you would want to see happen with AEW on Max. Do you want to see the pay-per-views on there? How many ads are too many? Let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.